Salutations, respected viewers. This is George from Ireland. In this video, I'm going to wonder aloud whether the United Kingdom ought to leave NATO. In case you don't know, I ought to tell you what NATO is. This acronym stands for the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. It was founded in 1949, shortly after the Cold War commenced. The Cold War is a period of rivalry between the Soviet Union and the United States. It lasted from perhaps 1946, Churchill's Iron Curtain speech at Westminster College in the United States, right up until the fall of the Berlin Wall on the 9th of November 1989. So the Soviet Union, with its communist system, had many allies around the world. The United States, with its capitalist system, had many allies all around the globe too. So NATO was a military alliance of the United States and other pro-American countries. It consisted of Canada as well, and many of the Western European countries, like France, Spain, Portugal, West Germany, which then existed, the Netherlands, Norway, the United Kingdom, Greece, Turkey. I shan't list them all. So it was an anti-Soviet alliance. Russia is the principal successor state to the Soviet Union, and to some extent embraces its Soviet heritage. So many Russians perceive it as being an anti-Russian alliance, and to some degree that's true. But NATO has often not been defensive. Once the Soviet Union was dissolved in December 1991, perhaps NATO ought to have dissolved too, since its raison d'être no longer existed. But indeed, NATO expanded into the former Eastern Bloc. There was the Warsaw Pact, which was a series of pro-Soviet states in Eastern Europe, such as Poland, Czechoslovakia, Hungary, Romania, Bulgaria, and East Germany, or the German Democratic Republic, to give it its official name. Czechoslovakia, of course, has split to two since. But anyway, as the Warsaw Pact was dissolved, shouldn't NATO as well? It comes across as bellicose to keep it going. And many of these former Warsaw Pact states have subsequently been admitted to NATO, so Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia. There was accession talks with Georgia and so on. And this comes across as belligerent to Russia, NATO wanting to set up bases on the borders of Russia. Imagine if Russia was setting up bases in Canada, Mexico, the Bahamas or something. It would come across as very menacing to the United States. So one has to see it from Moscow's perspective. And a lot of what NATO has done is not been defensive. In 1998, NATO started bombing Yugoslavia without UN resolutions. So it was the first time this sort of thing had been done in Europe since the Second World War. So many people thought it was against international law. It was highly controversial and obviously killed many civilians. Likewise, in Afghanistan, NATO has intervened. Now, the United States invoked the article of NATO's charter saying, an attack on one of us is an attack on all of us, you must come to our aid. And indeed, NATO troops are still battling there, none too successfully, 17 years later. But it's difficult to argue that was defensive. Okay, it was the Taliban attacked the United States, or Al-Qaeda more accurately, not the Afghan state itself. Okay, they're trying to help the Afghan state. But again, it doesn't appear to be really in the remit of NATO. So then it's also been somewhat superseded by the European Union, which got its own rapid reaction force, more or less an EU army. So the EU makes up the bulk of NATO members, but there's very little of the military capability that's mostly American. So the EU army would be, in a sense, NATO minus the United States, minus Canada, minus Turkey. So some people prefer that. Not all EU member states are in NATO. For instance, the Republic of Ireland. We could get out of this. And you see, for the United Kingdom, NATO has not been helpful. Take the Falklands conflict, when NATO did not assist the United Kingdom whatsoever, despite British territory being under illegal Argentine occupation. And indeed, some people in France and Spain were openly sympathetic to the other side, to Argentina, selling them weapons. So imagine, the United Kingdom pulling out of NATO, and Spain argues over Gibraltar, claiming the territory of another NATO member state, a friendly ally. Where you take the Northern Ireland conflict, where some people in the United States, not the government, were illegally funding the IRA, or some people in Canada were even illegally funding loyalist terrorists. So, okay, the governments of Canada and the US tried to stop this, but not very successfully. So you see how NATO allies don't really help each other. or many American politicians, were arguing against the United Kingdom, demanding that British sovereign territory, Northern Ireland, be handed over to the Republic of Ireland, even when these same politicians often had little idea what they were talking about. So pull out of NATO, and then the United Kingdom would not be dragged into conflicts which do not concern it. And defence budget could be spent on more useful things, indeed slimmed down. There'll be no more conflict. The United Kingdom could be a supersized Switzerland. They're sitting in the Atlantic, friend to all, doing trade with everyone, but besides commercial relations, not being drawn into entangling alliances and not being mired in avoidable wars. I also think aloud about the United Kingdom divesting itself of nuclear weapons, saving a ton of money, which could be spent more usefully, paying off the budget, reducing taxation, spend on healthcare or something, pensions, perhaps on conventional military forces, but that's really another issue about nuclear weapons. But there's that too. People say that UK nuclear capability can only be used with American permission, in which case it's more or less pointless anyway. So that's it. Here I am wondering whether the UK ought to actually pull out of NATO and be a properly neutral country.